Hi, how are you? Thank you for staying up so late to hang out with
Thank you. How
me.
are you? It's not late. It's 9 p.m. It's not late.
Yeah, well,
How
it's
are
so good to
you?
I'm
The
great. I'm
studio looks
great.
amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a new bolo tie. I'm super proud of it. I don't know if I can pull it off or not, but I'm pretending I can. It's this necklace looking thing.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
a friend of mine, her husband makes them, and so he brought me one this week while I've been in town. So I figured if I'm in Nashville, I should play the part a little bit. How are you?
Okay. I'm fine. I'm fine. Thank you. It's crazy. It's crazy, but it's good. It's good. Yeah.
Yeah, well, wonderful. Well, I'm so glad to have you back. Welcome back to the Lost and Found podcast. It's so good to see you. I was looking up
It's
our
good to
old
be here.
Yes, yes, you're always welcome, of course. You know, one of my good friends. And I was looking up, I don't know if you remember this, but you were episode 12 in the very beginning of the show. So your episode came out back in 2023. I know. It's been a
Yeah,
long time.
1.5. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, about a year and a half. Yeah, so you're one of
And you
my
have grown so much.
Yes, yes, it has. I'm not in a guest room anymore. I'm in a real studio this time. What do you think?
I know. It's amazing. It's amazing. How do you feel being in the studio?
It feels very surreal, to be honest. I've followed the team that I'm with today. I've followed a lot of the projects that they've done with other content creators and other podcasters, and it always looks so good and it's professional. And they specialize each room so you can pick what seats you're in, change it up, change the colors, change the background. So it's very customizable. I really like it a lot.
That's good to know. That's good to know.
Yeah. Well, tell me what you've been up to. So, for anybody listening that may not have heard Lynett's first episode, she and I met originally in 2023 when I did a safari in Africa, and she was one of my tour guides. And we got to know each other a little bit on that trip on my vacation, but we didn't get to spend a lot of quality time together. So, I asked her if she would like to be interviewed on the show, and she said yes. And so in 2023, we learned all about women in business, specifically women in tourism positions in Africa, and how Lynett was disrupting that particular industry by bringing in more women into the economy, educating them, empowering them to take on those types of jobs, become game drivers, enabling them to have more power and control over their own finances and education in that space. So she's been a powerhouse over there, and it's been such an honor to watch her grow and her team grow. So now we're chatting with her about new stuff that's going on with her business and her own education. So give us a bit of an update, Lynett. What have you been up to? What have you been working on these days?
I've been doing, of course, the school, but mainly for business. I've been doing more of the wellness travels around Africa. I've been growing a lot in that, and also sustainability, incorporating sustainability in the travel, but also having wellness trips for women has been a growing aspect of my business, because even if we have the normal safaris, incorporating wellness has been something that has been highly demanded for by women, because my niche clientele are women. And because women never get a chance to rest and relax, they're never really given a space to just be, to just rest as people, even in life. At home, you have to be cooking, you have to be cleaning, you have to be doing these things. If you're a mother, even that's an extra role. If you're working, it's an extra role. So having these wellness trips was basically giving a women a chance to relax, to rejuvenate, while also enjoying the nature, to take care of their health. Because once you travel in and around Africa, you realize we have a lot of organic foods and vegetables. We have amazing sceneries and a lot of green. So incorporating that in the wellness just creates a beautiful experience. Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of that, and also a bit of, masters and research work, which has also really opened a lot of doors for me in terms of knowledge. There's a lot of knowledge gaps I didn't know existed. And once I read more, I'm also learning more about the industry that we're working in. That's the need for more sustainability across the value chain.
Yeah, what encouraged you to go back to school? I remember being in grad school and having to work full time, and I thought I was going to die. Like I had nothing left in the tank at the end of the day. So I'm impressed that you decided to level up. What sparked that interest for growth?
Before I started during COVID 2021, I did a postgraduate in project monitoring and evaluation, and that also opened a sphere because I did it from a management institute, and I learned a lot about management as a leader in a company. Learning how to work with people is a very important tool to have, for
Yeah.
the success of a business. So I learned a lot, delegation, different things I didn't know. Most times before you go back
Mhm.
to school, you're like, I know what I need to know, until you actually sit in a classroom and you're like, wow, this is actually very important. I'm glad I'm here. So once I did that, you get a certificate, and then you just have to do research in a field where you are familiar or you are working for it to become a master's. So the fact that I'm in the tourism industry, I realized doing research in tourism would be the best solution. And the topic I decided to do was more into conservation and lions. And, it really opened this Pandora of
Mm.
information that I didn't know existed. So it has been a beautiful experience, and just also to polish my skills and knowledge, because as I'm doing the research, as I'm reading more, I'm understanding more about tourism in different countries, and because I'm doing conservation of a national park, and what
Right.
we're doing in Uganda for the national park is basically what other countries are also doing for their national parks, so even outside of Africa. So it has really given me a lot of knowledge in the industry.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I love the part where you were saying, you didn't know what you did not know, right? And having the humility to go, yeah, I'm maybe I'm behind, or I have this blind spot and I should cover that. I want to be the best possible business owner or leader for my team that I can, and if I don't cover that, it'll come back on me. So I'm curious, sometimes we on this show we will talk about misconceptions that people have about either their feelings or an issue that came up before they addressed it and what they learned after the fact. So I'd love it if you could talk about maybe misconceptions some people have about the wellness tourism in Africa. Because I'll admit, like when we first met, most of my education about Africa was related to people that had been on mission trips there or they had done the safaris there. So I didn't know that you could expand into wellness space or the adrenaline adventure type space where people are going, hunting and bungee jumping and skydiving and all those kinds of cool things that we've now done together. But, I'd love it if you could talk a
Yeah.
little bit more about what are the misconceptions either maybe you had or other people have had that need to be addressed about wellness tourism specifically.
First, people think wellness tourism is an ambiguous thing to have in Africa, because most times when people think of wellness, they think of some particular destination. Very few people associate it with Africa, you know, which is mind blowing in my opinion, because there's a lot of wellness in just the nature of how Africa is structured. And secondly, most times when people think of wellness travel, they also think it's some people have not yet that I'm taking you to this beautiful resort in the mountains to journal, to do a bit of yoga, to do meditation. Some people feel like in Africa, very few people is the essence that it actually carries. No, so actually, most of my clients have not been Africans, because very few people in Africa understand what wellness is all about. Another misconception is people think wellness travel should be very expensive, yet it's not, And then also another misconception is most people think it's cast in stone. While the way we do it in our company, the wellness trips that we organize, they are very customized to a particular audience and particular clients. Because me as Lynette, to me, wellness might be journaling, and someone else's idea of wellness could be just going to a beautiful resort and sleeping and just, eating, taking a walk around and sleeping. Someone else's idea of wellness could be hiking. Someone else, it could be, yoga. It could be a cultural immersion experience. So a wellness travel is not cast in stone, and it's very flexible. to a particular client's need and interest. That's a misconception I've seen where people think it should be either yoga or this. If not that, then it's not. But I feel it can be crafted to the interests of different clients.
Yeah, I love that. And the fact that you could have a very unique experience there. And because it's so customizable, you'll get, I think, more out of it, right? Because you get to choose the schedule that you want. You get to choose the activities you want. You get to the saying, treat yourself, right? If you want to visit that safari, treat yourself. If you want to go to that yoga studio, treat yourself. If you want to get that massage, treat yourself. Like that's if that's how it goes, that's how it goes for you. You just have to have the self-awareness, right? To like know what to pick that you'll be happy with. What do you do if a client calls and they're interested in Africa, but they don't really know what they want yet? Like how do you help them figure out what's going to be the best trip or the best vacation package for them?
Basically, I share with them according to their interests. Like if someone says, "Oh, I'd like a bit of water, I like a bit of green, I like a bit of maybe seeing wildlife," then I can always share with them ideas of possibilities. And it also depends on how much time they have, what their budget looks like. So I always craft, for some people's idea of wellness is just doing a nature walk in the national park. So we have some national parks like the one you actually visit. No, there's a group that visited that national park. It's called
Yeah.
Lake Mburo, where you can do a walking safari with the animals. And
Oh
they have
wow.
a beautiful resort where you can go and relax, and then along the day you go and do the walking safari. And then we also have a beautiful place which is called Lake Bunyonyi, which has a beautiful lake, crater lake actually in the middle of hills with small islands, and it's so scenic and beautiful and green and quiet. So once I listen to clients' ideas of a good time, then I can already suggest possibilities. There are clients who want to have a wellness trip, but they're adrenaline junkies. So there you would include maybe a bit of a gorilla trekking experience, or a hike, or a boat, maybe pedaling on the lake. So according to what they like as individuals, I can already suggest different possibilities, and also depending on the time frame they have and the budget. So we just sit down and throw a few ideas together.
Yeah, I love that. That's so fun. And it makes me want to go back really bad. I need to start saving my money again so I can fly over. And that's the hardest part, right? Is getting the flights. And then once you're there, you can so much. Getting there and saving my PTO. I spent a lot of it when I went to Antarctica. So that's on me. Burning through it too quickly. But I know a lot of people see travel as an
Yeah.
escape, Yeah, they see it as an escape.
Yeah.
And I know, but for you and I have talked in the past that sometimes travel can be used for self-discovery and joy and kind of reconnecting to who you are. And so I would love it if you could tell us a little bit about how travel has revealed things to you about who you are and who you're becoming now, because we spoke a year and a half ago, right? That was the last time you were on the episode. So a lot's happened since then. So I would love it if you could share about how travel has impacted your life, not just as a tour guide, but as a tourist yourself.
Yes, I love to travel. I always get excited every time I'm on the move. So something I've noticed is, like I've said, most people think travel is a way of escaping from reality. Yet for me, I see travel as a way of magnifying someone's reality. Whenever I travel, first it helps me rediscover myself more. It helps me identify what me as Lynett, what do I want? What do I want out of life? It makes me even dream bigger in terms of ambition as an individual. Because when you travel, I remember the first time I was in Tanzania because I worked there for some time. I looked at how the industry was operating and I was like, oh my God. I was actually embarrassed with myself because when I was in Uganda, I thought it was it. And then I went and worked in Tanzania and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
what are we doing back home? So travel opens this Pandora of like possibilities. And I was like, we're not doing anything. Like, what's this? So it's made me dream even bigger, you know. At times
Good.
I've gone for solo trips. It has helped me rediscover myself as an individual. Like, oh, okay, I don't really like that. okay, maybe if I'm with people, maybe I might like this, but not that. So that's something crazy about travel. And as someone who is growing, even if you're an entrepreneur, even if you're someone who's employed, travel makes you, widen your dreams and possibilities. Because sometimes when you travel, you even look at identify new opportunities. I'm sure every time you have traveled, your perspective of life has definitely changed. Your
For sure.
dreams, the things you want out of life. I'm sure, whether if you wanted to make $5 million now, I'm sure your dreams have become bigger just because of traveling. So it is something so powerful that most people don't even realize the magnitude at which it is.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'm sure it must be a really great feeling when your clients arrive. And I know some people, they could probably come in excited, or some people might be a bit hesitant because they've never been there before, or they don't know what to expect, or maybe they've had misconceptions about what Africa is going to be like, and so they come in there with a bias, and then they experience everything that you're offering to them, and it like clicks, like the light bulb goes off. They're kind of like, this is what this could be like. This is actually how this goes. This is actually completely different than what I was thinking of. You're right. I think it can expand your mind, it can change your attitudes, and it can also shatter things too. Like the small bubble you may have been living in gets broken apart, or the box that you thought your possibilities were limited to are gone. And so that can
Yeah.
sometimes be shocking, but in the best way possible too. And for me, I just love being able to meet people from all over the world, right? While you're traveling, whether they're, if they speak English or not, or if they've ever been to America or not. It's always good to remind yourself that you can reconnect with other humans, just because they may not look
Yes.
like you or talk like you or sound like you or anything like that. The humanity between the two of you is still so important, and travel helps connect that.
Yeah, and I think also something also travel helped me identify what it helped me appreciate the things that I have like so good back home. Whenever you travel, you might take things for granted, and when you go to a different country, you're like, okay, actually, we have maybe a lot of this back home that other people don't have. Maybe we have a lot of something as simple as fresh water. We have it in abundance and we take it for
Right.
granted. The weather, the food. So it's after you have traveled and realized it's not everyone that actually has this, that
No.
it helps you appreciate.
It does. It really, really does. My mom always does that. When we were little, I don't know if I told you this story or not, but when we were little and we would go on vacations, my mom would make us take journals with us. And so, like, we'd have little, like, diaries of our trips. And then she would make us
Mm,
write down, like, what was your favorite thing about today? Like, some people call them high, low highs. So, like, your a good thing that happened, something that wasn't so good that
mm,
happened, but then you have to end the day on a piece of gratitude. So, like, what was good, what wasn't so great, what are you going to do better tomorrow, kind of a deal. But she would make us write all those journals down for all of our family trips. So that way we would remember things. And that was well back before we were, teenagers with cell phones that could take photos of things. So we had to write it always write it
mm.
down. But, I was also the kid that drove to school listening to NPR. So, like, we were always making sure we were well educated and engaged, or at least distracted enough not to bother her. So that's kind of what I've developed now, I think, is to, as an adult, trying to appreciate that thing that she was teaching me to be, which is present in that moment
Mm,
and creating a core memory, right? A lot of times I worry that people joke about going on vacation and then they need a vacation after their vacation to recover from
yes,
the vacation. So then it kind of makes you wonder, like, okay, well, how present were you during your vacation, or did you actually like rest when you were trying to rest? Because isn't
just
that the whole
run through.
point? Yeah, you're just like
Yeah.
you're burning through everything because you're like, well, I only have 1 week. I have to cram it all in. I have to do all this stuff. And if you travel far, flights are crazy, throws you off. It's it's been really important to me the older I get to try and be more present in every moment, whether I'm at the office, whether I'm podcasting, whether I'm on vacation, just trying to appreciate what that is. I'm curious for you though, as someone who's been helping guide women, as you said, your niche clientele are typically women, and they're seeking a healing or a wellness related experience across Africa. What exactly does
Yeah.
wellness mean to you personally, and how has the term wellness for you evolved over time?
First of all, like you mentioned in just a statement you made, the fact that most people, when they come to Africa for travel or anywhere around the world, their trips are fast paced. They're back to back. You leave at 6 in the morning, you come back like at 8, 9 p.m. in the night, So first of all, for me, wellness is something slow paced. To me, my idea of wellness is an experience which is slow paced, present, taking it all in, the fresh air, the sun rays, the sceneries, the amazing cuisines, having a deep conversation with people. That's why I actually like to have wellness trip packages for women, but mainly groups, like at least 5 people, 8 people, 10 people. That way you sit down in a group and basically be having a heart-to-heart conversation, without all these gadgets and, all these things distracting you. Maybe having a yoga session overlooking a beautiful lake, a beautiful crater. So for me, wellness is all that nature, being surrounded by green, listening to the birds, having a quiet environment, feeding on very organic foods, that whole holistic experience to me is what I look at as wellness. And also being in that space with a core purpose of rediscovering yourself
Mhm.
or letting yourself rest or cater to your inner child, or cater to yourself, like whatever you want, you're getting.
Yeah. I like that. If you could go on vacation yourself or go on a wellness retreat yourself, what would you design from all of the vendors and places that you know of in Africa? What would your dream wellness trip be?
Hmm. Wow. My dream wellness trip it would include a crater lake. First of all, it would have to be some place with a lot of green. So we're looking either at a forest or a crater lake, something with a very beautiful scenic view. I'm someone who loves the green, so we're looking at a forest, maybe in the mountains, very quiet. I would like to throw in a few adrenaline experiences, so a bit of hiking or some little bit of maybe cardio work happening, maybe some trails where we're going to be walking through trails, and then of course some spa treatments, massage, what, yeah. But
Yeah.
which area? Maybe Lake Bunyonyi. I love Lake Bunyonyi. And I've also, after traveling in and around Africa, I've also gotten to realize that Uganda has some of the best cuisines. So I think it will be Lake Bunyonyi, Uganda, or Zambia. The River Zambezi in Zambia. That is a beautiful place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Particular lodge called Livingstone Lodge. Yeah. It's just next to the river. I think it also provides a beautiful, scenic, quiet environment just next to the
Nice.
river. Yeah.
That sounds nice. You get a little bit of everything, the green, the water, and the adventure. Yeah. I would go on that trip. Yeah. I would add in definitely the food. If I go back, it'd be a bit more of the
Yeah.
food tour. The food tour. I know we were talking earlier before we recorded about the core group of friends that I originally came to Africa with. They want to go back, but they want to go to Zanzibar and Tanzania, mostly because I think they really want to be in Zanzibar to be near the beaches and stuff.
Yeah.
They're my group of girls. Yeah, the girls I travel with are typically beachy girlies or water girlies. They like that. We have hiked before, but it's not everybody's favorite. They will do it, but it's not everybody's favorite. I think they like the beach time too.
Yeah. To relax, definitely. And
Yeah.
and Zanzibar is beautiful. I've been there twice, and it's beautiful. The resorts are really well established with good amenities and good services. But if you really want food, culinary experiences, then definitely you have to come to Uganda because
Okay.
Uganda has the biggest, like the widest varieties of food across Africa. And these
Mhm.
foods and vegetables are available throughout the year. Like it's until I started
Oh.
traveling to different countries for work that I actually understood how good we have it. Like it's plenty. It's crazy. I think
That's
because we have so many tribes and every tribe has a different cuisine, so it's a melting point. And also the fact that it's a tropical environment, so we have rain and sun throughout the year. So basically for planting and harvesting throughout the year. It's beautiful.
Yeah, so it's the ideal environment to have the best of both worlds inside of it. That's good. That's really good to know. Because I've never been to Uganda either. That's on the list. And that would make sense. We'd have to fly over and say hi to you and then take you with us to the other places. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious, how has it been going with your business too? The last time we spoke, it was in November, and I think the episode released in December, but you had just finished, I think, 36 tours that year. So I'm curious, have things been growing? Are you doing more than that now? How busy are you? And what's going on? Are you taking any new risks with the company? Or are you making any changes that have kind of, expanded your mind or challenged you in any kind of way?
Changes. I mean, because we wanted to expand the niche, we created a website for the Girls Travels. So it's called
Yes.
Girls Travels Africa.
Yeah.
And that website basically has the wellness packages that we offer. So that has been a unique thing we have developed, and we have gotten a number of bookings. We are very excited about it. So definitely, I don't know if I've shared you that website, the link to that website.
It's on your YouTube, so I found it. Yeah, it looks great. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, so with that, we have been able to get more business in that angle for the wellness travels. And then, of course, the other people who come for the normal safaris. So this year is one of our core products is the gorilla trekking, which is the gorilla experience. And June, July, August, the 3 months got sold out by May.
Oh, wow.
So we reached a point where we had to either reject clients, like because we had no permits, because every gorilla family gets a maximum of 8 people visiting it per day. And I think we have around 24 families in the country, like the total families that are visited, that are habituated. So it reached a point where they were all sold out. And now because of sustainability and conservation, they can't increase that number. So there's a time when I had a group of 20 people, and we had to literally either give them something else or cancel that trip. So it has been crazy because it has been highly demanded for as a product, and it's one of the core products we sell. To make someone come into the country became it was a beautiful challenge, but it was scary at the same time. Yeah. Of course, we get late. Because if you want to do the gorillas, usually you have to pay like a year in advance so that they secure your permits, mainly for the high season, which is June, July, August. So I'm sure in September we shall be able to rest a bit as the season goes down and wait for December.
Yes, when the rest of the world wants to come and visit in the cold and they want to heat up, they'll come back to Africa. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes.
And you're right. If it's very limited for the amount of people that can enter the parks to find the gorillas, yeah, you can only take a certain amount of guests each time. So that would be really tough to balance who can go and who can't, and how do you compensate them in another way or offer a different trip as an alternative? That would be really tough. I'm sure. It's a lot to balance if some people aren't happy about having to change plans.
Yeah, it was tricky for people who booked last, like who confirmed last minute. I think because of the year, because you see everything which happens in the West affects us back home. So because of the political environment that has been going on globally, people took long to confirm their bookings because they didn't know how the atmosphere was going to be politically and socially across the globe. So they took long to confirm their trips. And by the time they had confirmed, the permits, particularly for gorillas, were
sold.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Okay, well, good. Have you started to make any changes based on what you've learned in school so far with the specializing in the conservation stuff? Like, have you altered anything that you do now based on what you learned from class?
Not yet, because what I'm learning, I'm basically analyzing the conservation strategies that are being carried out by
Mm-hmm.
Uganda Wildlife Authority. That's the
Yeah.
organization which manages the national parks. So with my discoveries at the end of my research, I'll basically be advising that organization, which is a government organization, on which would be the best strategies. But something I have noticed through all the literature I have read is that uh, having human-led conservation strategies is basically the best way to go for sustainability of the wildlife best. So something I have noticed and I plan to put in practice is maybe to have more community activities added on the safari activities. So when someone goes for a safari, maybe they visit the local communities, they buy from the local people. That way the local people get to appreciate the tourism industry, and that's where they appreciate the wildlife. Because if they don't appreciate overly the wildlife, then they can't protect it. That's
Right.
where we have the conflicts, and then sometimes they are hunted down and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you were sharing photos with me a while back about you were with the large cats. Were you at like a conservation for them, working with them, doing
Yes.
research, or was that part of one of your tours?
Yeah, no, that was one of the tours. That was one of the tours. There's a place called the CTC Conservation Center. So even something I've realized through my research is that because of the human wildlife conflict happening not only in Uganda but across Africa with the big cats, most people have what they call conservancies, where they breed. They literally get a big chunk of land, maybe a number of hectares. They fence it off and they just breed,
Mm.
the cats, the lions, the antelopes. They breed them from within, and that way they protect them in that way. And maybe when people want to come and visit them, pay some money for the conservation and protection of this conservancy. So there's a gentleman in Uganda who is doing that. He
Okay.
has a number of lions and he breeds them, internally, with a plan of maybe having them go back into the wild after a period of time to increase the number of the lions.
Right. Yeah. And to help them at least get to a certain age point where they're safe, right? I know that that's the hardest part for some of the animals. They can't, even the little babies can't grow up to become adults because they are either hunted or their parents get killed and then they can't survive without the guidance of their parents. So it's just kind of tough to even allow them to get to a level where they can even be released to go back.
Yeah.
That's
And
really,
I
really
think
important.
the trickiest part with the conservancies is by the time they're growing, because the conservancies, they're protected, they're fed. So when they go into the wild, some of them are not very interested in hunting. They're like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
used to getting my chicken. Yeah.
Yeah, I can just a man brings me a chicken and he hands it to me. Yeah. I'll just go eat that. But you can't find a wild chicken sometimes in the middle of the
Yes.
jungle. No, that'd be
Yeah. I'm
interesting.
learning a
Yeah, or I'd love to read all the articles about how do you teach a lion to hunt, like in the opposite way, because usually they watch their pride teach them or like show them, like we got to do when we saw all the water buffaloes that were being surrounded. It was intense. It was very intense and strategic, and
yeah.
it looked so cool to watch them kind of like look at each other, and then they could just tell what was going on, and the other one would move and then go around, and then the mom would take the younger ones, and then it was fascinating. I loved it. I thought it was cool, but that's probably me being basic because I don't see that every day, and I'm sure you're like,
Yeah. Okay, now I can't
that's just a Tuesday. What are you talking
Yep.
about? Oh
Yeah.
man.
Sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. I want to make sure I didn't lose you there. But let's see. So I know that you're doing something really rare, right? In Uganda, you're building a space where African women can lead, they can be nurturing, they can be a part of nature, and they're empowering their clients to, you know, engage with the land, travel more, learn and share stories with each other. So, what exactly has leadership meant to you throughout this process? Because I'm sure you've mentored the women that work for you as well. And I'm curious, what has your
Yes.
leadership process been like, and how do you stay grounded as as a business owner and a leader for your group?
First of all, it's about understanding that we work with people. We work with fellow people, and people are emotional beings. So one thing I emphasize is I would never treat someone in a way I wouldn't want to be treated, because I know this is a ripple effect. if I don't treat my ladies well, the guides, they're not going to treat the client well, and because I've worked in the industry and I've seen it play out, I can't assume treating them in a way which is unfair will just stop there. It will basically spill over on how they perform when they're handling my clients. So knowing this, and also knowing that I have an opportunity to make a positive impact in their life, I don't take it for granted. And I also notice and appreciate the value they add, because if they're not there, I can't single-handedly take all the different groups of clients for the safari.
Right.
Even if I wanted to, I can't take them at the same time. So I understand and appreciate the contribution they have. And I also understand my role, and I make sure I give them the best so that they can give me back the best, while also basically having chats with them which are not very line crossing. We have conversations. We're like, oh, how are you handling your finances? How are you handling your personal life? Oh, okay. In a way that's not crossing the line too much, but in a way that is, you know, subtle, simple, and maybe, throwing a few pieces of advice here and there. Basically, like you're talking to a sister,
Sure.
but someone you basically respect their boundaries, their reputation, and value the contribution they have and they bring to the table.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that. That's good. It sounds like you're helping them feel empowered to, carry out their own role, carry out their ability to make a decision if a challenge does come up or a timing issue, or maybe a client might be giving you guys a hard time. They have the ability to go, okay, I know what to do. I've handled this before. I can do it, and if I have a problem, I can always lean on Lynette. Like you give them a safety net,
Yeah.
but you're not micromanaging what's going on every day. That sounds like a really good place to be.
Yeah. I work with them because I trust their deliverables. I've seen them deliver, and the things they do that I can't do. So I give them that autonomy and independence to do their thing. While I also do my thing. Of course, there are things that we don't compromise on, but we agree. We're like, okay, we're not compromising on this. We're not changing X, Y, Z. The rest, do as you feel, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm wondering if you could remind us a bit. I don't know if we talked about this during the last episode or not, but what actually made you want to go out on your own and start your own tour guide business? Like you could have done lots of different aspects of tourism, right? You could have worked at a resort. You could have been a game driver. You could have been someone that did the yoga retreats, or you could have been a chef at any of those other, world renowned, culinary experiences that you've talked about. Why was being a guide the ideal role for you?
I think because I jumped in, I did all these roles along the way. I started working in the industry when I was in my Form 6 vacation, basically what you'd call maybe high school vacation before you go into university. So I started as a site guide, you know, at a particular tourist attraction. And then I went ahead to work as a marketing manager for a chain of lodges in Tanzania. After that, I came and was working as an operations manager at a high end luxury lodge in Uganda. So after working at all these facilities, I had understood how the structures work, and it also, as I said, as I worked, I also discovered myself and realized, oh, okay, as much as I love working in the industry, I might not be comfortable being in one place for a very long time. And most of the travel lodges and resorts are very far away from home. So staying close to my mom, my family was something that was very important to me. So that, okay, so as I'm looking for opportunities or I'm creating opportunities, it has to be somewhere where I can still be close to family. Okay, that's known. So understanding that and also having worked there and seen that, done that, I realized this was going to be the best position for me.
Yeah.
And also the fact that there were not very many people or women. I didn't see a number of women who are giving opportunities to fellow women in the industry. That also showed me that, okay, maybe I have to do something about this. And also having been a woman working in the industry and seeing how women were looked at, I was like, okay, maybe it's very important for me to create a space where we can work with women guides, specifically women clients, because even the number of people visiting Africa and Uganda for women was not that big. Yet, when you look at the statistics globally, women are traveling a lot, solo travels, there are so many. But why are they not coming into Africa and into Uganda? A number of reasons, one of which they are not feeling safe with a male guide.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and then I remember
Sure.
there's an article which I read where some lady was like, when she was talking to a particular company, they appeared like they were working with women, but when they came on ground, still the guide was a male. Actually, it was a company, I think in Egypt, where they said online on face value they showed they're working with women only, but on ground all the guides were male. Yeah. So understanding all those small things, it was, I think, very important for me to come out and be like, okay, we're creating a space for women and doing trips around and with the women. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like you are living in alignment with what you were meant to do. How does it feel to be do you I guess, yeah, it sounds that way. Do you feel like you are living in your purpose? And if not, what do you try to do to help you realign back to what your purpose is?
I do feel that I'm living within my purpose because I don't I think you hear that cliche line of when you do what you love, you don't work a day
Yeah.
in your life. I feel that because even when we met on that trip, the trip was back to back and it was a bit intense and a lot was going on, but not once did I feel exhausted. Even for the group which was in Uganda before yours, a lot was happening, a lot, back to back, 30 ladies, you're managing all this, you're managing the,
Mhm.
the hotel, the guides, the drivers, everything. And still for me, it was fun, you know. Right now, I do a bit of lecturing at at a tourism institute. And when I'm there and I'm sharing with the students, I'm telling them how to develop itineraries, I'm teaching them how to provide good service, hospitality, and everything. I'm saying all these things, and some people are like, this sounds so hard. I'm like, what are you saying? This is so easy.
What are you
Okay,
talking
but
about?
how
This
do
is
you
so fun.
explain?
It's my favorite thing in the world to
Yeah.
be totally stressed out with to have 50 women yelling at me if they don't get their luggage right or air conditioning or something goes
And that's
wrong.
the thing. It's not a stressed experience. Actually, even when I was working with a group, because when I was working with Kumbu, the gentleman who I was
Yeah.
obeyed, he kept saying the term he always used. He always said that I feel like trips are like a stress factor. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I don't know. Okay, like I
You're like,
came on board as a consultant for his groups, but he
right.
always
Yeah.
mentioned that it was a stress thing. It was a stress thing. And I was like, okay, like that's how you see it, but I don't see it that way. So yeah, it's something. I'm
Yeah.
glad I discovered it early on, and I'm glad that I'm here, and I love it. That's why having this podcast at 9 p.m. is nothing. I meet people at 2 in the morning just to talk about tourism.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Yeah,
I'm very happy for you. I'm very happy you're living the life that feels like the dream to you. And quite honestly, I don't know if you keep up with Charles from the Botswana portion of our trip. I think he follows the podcast, and every now and then he was one of the game drivers, and he'll send me photos of things that he's like, just out at lunch, and it's just a baby elephant walking by in front of his car, and I'm kind of like, wow, I can't even imagine. Like I wake up and there's crickets outside my house. Like there's nothing exciting like that. So it's wonderful that you are living in a place where you feel like it is your total dream, and that probably makes the worst days not as bad as they could be, right? Because you truly love what you do. And I think that that's
that
really
is true.
important. And it's so hard for
That
people
is
to
true.
find. I know sometimes clients, we mentioned this earlier in the podcast, but sometimes clients come on the vacation because they are trying to find themselves again. They're trying to push a boundary. They are trying to break out of a mold where they feel stuck and just rediscover who they are, rediscover what they want. And when you throw yourself into an environment that's completely different, it'll kind of jolt you awake sometimes, or at least that's the hope. So I'm curious if you had a client that was coming on one of your tours and you kind of noticed that they were maybe hesitant or they were a little afraid to take their leap, whether it's their career, their relationships, their motherhood. Maybe they came on the trip because they're struggling with self-worth, anything that may be common, like you may have seen in the past. What would you say to that particular client while she was with you? And what would you say to her to help her encourage herself to just go for it anyway, do it anyway, make the change, start over, figure it out?
As I have worked with women and worked with different groups, there are a number of things that I've realized and I've come to appreciate is that once someone is ready to make that change, it's easy for them to hear and understand the words that you tell them. Once someone is holding on to something, no matter what you say, it might not do much. Being ready and willing to make that personal change is something very profound. And by the time someone has booked a trip to come to Africa, they've made a very big step. So I usually encourage women, first of all, to love themselves a little more than they're told to, or that they're allowed to, or that they have been told they should. Because most times, as women, as people, we think about the rest before we think about ourselves. And most of the things that we do, until they come from a place of love and self understanding, they might not be able to make so much sense to someone else. But once you love yourself a little bit more, that's why you would be able to say, okay, let me grow my podcast. Let me book out this studio space. Let me create time on this day and do this, because you love yourself a little bit more to see the vision you have for your future self. So I always encourage women and ask them, if you looked back 5 years, would the person you have become be proud of you? The person
Yeah.
that you want to be, would they be proud of the work you did? When you look back, when you look at your future self, will you be full of regret, or will you be glad you did it? So would you be glad because you came to Africa? Yes. When you go back home, the changes you want to make 5 years from now, will you be glad you made them, or will they feel like a regret? So whenever you know that not doing anything will create a regret, it's very important that you make a bit of a change. But most times I let my clients,
Yeah.
do the inner work. Yeah,
Of course.
because
Yeah.
change is a very powerful thing. Until someone is ready to do it, it can easily, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the phrase that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Like you
Yeah.
can curate the environment, you can make an epic trip or an epic vacation, something super enjoyable with wellness and adventure and nature, and it's still up to them to absorb it and, take something away from that and go, all right, I met all these amazing other women on this trip. They're living inspiring lives. I need to do something with mine. I need to do what I need to make the change that I've been so afraid, or I need to take the risk that, like Lynette, she, started her own business. She hired all these other women. She empowered them. Now she's expanding and offering new options and new packages. And she got a new website. Like, she's investing in herself. She's going back to school and she's raising her kid. Like, she's doing it all. Like, if she can do it all, I can do it all too. Or I can do the thing that's been scaring me so much. And I like to take things away from that, just from observing other people. And at least out of this podcast, that's what I've observed a lot with other guests, is kind of like, wow, there's been other people that I interview that have struggled just like me, or they've had a very similar feeling when they lost themselves, or they changed careers, or they let go of a previous version of who they were. And it took a while to get back to what they really wanted deep down, but they had to first admit that there was a problem, right? To make some kind of effort to address it. And then 3, yeah, you're right. Look at the retrospect and go, do I regret that, or will I regret that? And if the answer is yes, then I have to respond to it in some kind of way.
Yeah, and also something we do a lot when we have wellness trips is the campfire conversation that whenever women share, whenever women start talking with each other honestly, it
Yeah.
has a way it sparks change and difference. Through our wellness, we always encourage honesty and honest conversations where people literally pour out during a campfire and people share, different life experiences, different ideas and possible solutions for different issues. So there also I've seen a lot of transformation happening because someone will say something that will literally change your life. And I've also noticed that we as women, you could be in the US, I could be in Uganda, someone could be in Nigeria, but the fact that we're women, most of the challenges we face are the same. It's just a different location, a different time zone, but everything is the same. The challenges we're having with work, with bosses, with family members, with spouses, with boyfriends, with children, with
Yeah.
fertility, with weight, they are the same. We're just in a different time zone, a different location, but it's all the same. So that also has really, really been a beautiful thing to see. Having women, if someone is from California, someone is from, Switzerland, and they're sharing, and it's like they're next door neighbors. So it's beautiful when women come together.
Yeah. It sounds like you've created or built a community where people can feel safe to be one, to travel, and then two, to be vulnerable and actually enjoy it when they're connecting with other people. So that's amazing. Well, Lynett, this has been my favorite hour all week. It's been so nice to talk to you again and see you. I miss you. I know. Yeah, I only booked it for an hour. Yeah. So we're coming up on our last few minutes. I know. One day I will have a full studio. I'll do it in my house. You can talk for 3 hours if you want. But right now, I don't want to back them up or anything like that. But I love you so much and I'm so proud of you and thank you so much for coming on the show again. You're welcome back anytime and I'm so proud of you and I'm so glad to see that things are going well and you're learning a lot and growing a lot and you're taking risks, which is a huge topic on this show to do that, right? And to learn how to be okay with doing that and investing in yourself and learn and appreciating what you've learned along the way on the journey. And I appreciate you so much for sharing today and giving us all these really cool updates. And I hope everybody that's listening, if you've ever been interested in Africa before, you reach out to Lynett and her team and see what they can curate for you so you can have a specialized visit and you can get to do all the things you've ever dreamed of while visiting Africa. So Lynett, let everybody know what's the best way to contact you or how to find you or interact with you and your team.
Okay, so they can send me an email at tugendeafrique@gmail.com. You can just send my WhatsApp details or even my Instagram. Those are three easy channels through which I'm sure someone can easily find me. So the WhatsApp contact, the Instagram, my Gmail account for tugendeafrique@gmail.com. Then I also want to thank you for pushing, for all the work you have done from 2023, for consistency. The studio looks amazing. You're also investing in yourself. So thank you so much for showing us the way because I'm also inspired by all the great things you're doing in your life.
Oh my gosh. Well, I've been watching you mostly because you're on YouTube and all the different channels and social media platforms. I'm like, she can just talk to the camera and not mess up. Like I can do it. I cannot feel like an idiot or cringy or weird. If I want to talk about what I'm passionate about, I should just do it. She's doing it. So it's good. It's why we need people like this in our circle. We need people that lift us up and help us feel encouraged to try. So I appreciate that so much. Everyone, I will make sure that all of Lynett's information is accurate and updated and added to the show notes for this episode. You know how to find me. I'm at hello@podcastforthelost.com. All of my social media, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram is all Podcasts for the Lost. And you can reach out to me via email. If you ever have questions for a guest or you want to ask me a question, you can send it via email or an anonymous link. That'll also all be in the show notes. And we'll catch up with you again next week. And remember, wanderers are always welcome.